Vitamin D, the sunshine hormone. Introduction. Vitamin D, scientifically known as calciferol, is a fat-soluble corticosteroid that functions primarily as a pro-hormone rather than a classic dietary vitamin. It exists in two major forms: vitamin D2, or ergocalciferol, which comes mainly from plant sources and UV-irradiated fungi, and vitamin D3, or cholecalciferol, which your body makes in the skin when exposed to ultraviolet B rays, specifically wavelengths between 290 and 315 nanometers, or which you can obtain from animal-based foods. Although both forms need to be activated in the body, research clearly shows that vitamin D3 is superior. A major 2025 systematic review and meta-analysis of randomized controlled trials found that vitamin D2 not only raises total 25-hydroxy vitamin D levels less effectively than D3, but it can actually lower the natural D3 form in your blood. This is why today's clinical guidelines strongly recommend vitamin D3 for supplementation. What makes vitamin D truly unique is that your body can produce it in sufficient quantities all by itself, simply through sunlight on your skin. This dual role as both a nutrient and a steroid hormone precursor allows it to bind to vitamin D receptors, or VDRs, which are present in nearly every tissue of the body. Once activated, it influences the expression of over 1,000 genes involved in mineral balance, immunity, cell growth, and inflammation control. A brief history and why it still matters. Historically, cod liver oil, rich in natural vitamin D3, dramatically cured the rickets epidemics that swept through smoke-filled industrial cities with little sunlight. Today, the same biology explains why maintaining healthy vitamin D levels is linked to overall health outcomes across populations, no matter where you live, as long as lifestyle factors allow adequate synthesis or intake. How your skin makes vitamin D. Cutaneous synthesis of vitamin D3 starts in the epidermis. When UVB photons reach your skin, they convert a cholesterol precursor called 7-dehydrocholesterol into pre-vitamin D3, which then gently warms and transforms into stable cholecalciferol, vitamin D3. This natural process is remarkably efficient when conditions are right, but many everyday factors can impair it. Higher melanin content in darker skin tones, Fitzpatrick types 4 through 6, naturally absorbs more UVB, so more exposure time is needed. Living at higher latitudes, especially above 35 to 40 degrees north or south, or during winter months. Timing: early morning or late afternoon. Cloud cover, air pollution, heavy clothing, and sunscreen with SPF 30 or higher, which can block 95 to 99% of UVB rays. Clinical insight. Even in sunny cities like Marrakesh or at 40 degrees north in places like New York or Madrid, effective vitamin D production can drop sharply from November through February. This leads to predictable seasonal dips in blood levels that researchers have observed again and again in long-term studies. The activation journey. Once produced or consumed, vitamin D, whether D2 or D3, travels in the blood bound to a carrier protein called vitamin D binding protein. It then undergoes two important hydroxylations. First, in the liver, mainly through the enzyme CYP2R1, it becomes 25-hydroxyvitamin D, or 25-OHD. This is the stable, long-lasting form, with a half-life of 2 to 3 weeks, that doctors measure to assess your vitamin D status. Second, in the kidneys and many other tissues, the enzyme CYP27B1 converts it into the active hormone 1,25-dihydroxyvitamin D, also known as calcitriol. Calcitriol binds to the nuclear vitamin D receptor, teams up with the retinoid X receptor, and regulates gene transcription through specific vitamin D response elements. The body keeps tight control through elegant feedback loops involving parathyroid hormone, fibroblast growth factor 23, and the enzyme CYP24A1, which breaks down excess vitamin D. Importantly, many tissues, including immune cells, the brain, placenta, and prostate, can produce their own calcitriol locally. This allows vitamin D to exert powerful effects beyond just bone health. Calcium and phosphorus homeostasis. Calcitriol is the master regulator of mineral absorption. It dramatically increases intestinal calcium uptake through special channels and binding proteins, and phosphorus absorption through dedicated transporters. It also promotes calcium reabsorption in the kidneys and, working with parathyroid hormone, can release calcium from bone when needed. At healthy levels, it gently suppresses excess parathyroid hormone, protecting your bones and maintaining the perfect calcium-phosphate balance for strong mineralization. Bone health and mineralization. Vitamin D ensures your body has enough minerals to form hydroxyapatite crystals, the building blocks of strong bone. Without it, bones fail to mineralize properly, leading to rickets in children or osteomalacia in adults. It also helps balance the ongoing remodeling of bone by influencing osteoclasts and osteoblasts. In clinical practice, children with nutritional rickets often show dramatic improvement, straighter legs, better growth, and normalized blood markers within just 4 to 8 weeks of proper vitamin D3 and calcium treatment. Immune system modulation. One of vitamin D's most fascinating roles is in immunity. Calcitriol boosts your innate defenses by triggering the production of powerful antimicrobial peptides, cathelicidin, LL37, and beta-defensins in macrophages, monocytes, and epithelial cells. These peptides directly attack bacteria, viruses, and fungi. At the same time, it calms the adaptive immune system, reducing excessive inflammatory responses while promoting regulatory T cells. This balanced action can help limit infection severity and may lower the risk of autoimmune conditions. Brain, mood, and hormonal effects. Vitamin D receptors are abundant in the brain, in both neurons and support cells. The active hormone supports neurotrophic factors, influences dopamine and serotonin pathways, and reduces neuroinflammation. It also interacts with other hormones. Observational studies often link low vitamin D to mood issues and seasonal affective disorder, especially in northern regions, though results from supplementation trials in non-deficient people remain mixed. Proven benefits and current evidence as of 2025-2026. Bone and muscle health. Vitamin D, together with calcium, prevents rickets and significantly reduces osteoporotic fracture risk, particularly hip fractures, in older adults. Doses of at least 800 IU per day have been shown to lower fall risk by about 20% in frail or institutionalized elders. Immune support. Supplementation can reduce the risk of acute respiratory infections by 10 to 20%, with the strongest benefits seen in those who start out deficient. Sufficiency is also associated with lower rates of certain autoimmune diseases, especially multiple sclerosis in high-latitude areas. Chronic disease. The strongest evidence supports reduced cancer mortality, not necessarily incidence, when levels stay above 30 nanograms per milliliter. Links to cardiovascular health, slower progression of prediabetes, and lower overall mortality exist in observational data. However, large randomized trials and genetic studies suggest that in people who are not deficient, vitamin D often functions more as a marker of a healthy lifestyle than as a direct cure-all. The large VIVID trial published in 2026 found that high-dose vitamin D3 did not significantly reduce acute COVID-19 severity or hospitalizations. Yet a promising per-protocol signal suggested fewer long COVID symptoms, particularly brain fog and fatigue. More targeted research is still needed. Overall consensus today, benefits are clearest when correcting deficiency. In well-nourished individuals, extra vitamin D provides more modest gains outside of bone health.